On tap, Crooked Tree IPA. Hi, I'm James Knott, and this is your Better Beer Authority. We recently took a trip to Western Michigan and visited several breweries. One brewery that stuck out to everyone was the Dark Horse Brewing Company in Marshal, Michigan. It had a cool bar with mugs hanging on the ceiling and a great selection of beers. After a little tasting, we took a great tour through the brewery. At the end of the tour, we met a hippie, and his name was Wiggs, who also happened to be the brewery operations manager. And when we were leaving, he sent us off with a gift, a case of random beers from Dark Horse. Thanks, Wiggs! They are number 26 on Rate Beer's list of the top breweries in the world. That leads us to today's review of Crooked Tree IPA. This beer is an American IPA that comes in at 6.0% ABV. It is dry hopped for a pine citrus aroma. Crooked Tree IPA is inspired by West Coast IPAs. Drink this year-round out of a pint glass. Today we have joining us Ryan Bell, local beer nerd, home brewer, Drink Up Columbus blogger occasionally, and he also likes spiders, which I think is fascinating. Ryan, what are you pulling out of the flavors of this beer?
Flavor-wise, I'm getting a good amount of hops, getting some citrus, some pine hop character out of it. It's just that's a good hop presence, a good hop character. I think the malt characters that I'm able to pull out of it somewhat take somewhat of a backseat to the hops. Mm-hmm. But it's a good flavor. It's I enjoy it.
Joby, this beer, at least on the brewery's website, was described as something to the effect of intensely dry hopped. I mean, are you pulling out a strong aroma on this?
Well, James, I actually did earlier when the beer was a little fuller, but as the beer is going down, the aroma to me is weakening. But I can still get the dry hop nose on it, but intensely dry hopped, that's not quite there. For me, I wouldn't describe it as intensely dry hopped.
Yeah. Scott, well, how would you describe what we're seeing here? Because I don't know the viewers at home can appreciate the kind of funk that's floating around in here.
Oh, it's tough, I guess. Think about it. I don't know. I mean, it's like looking at a snow globe, basically. Snow globe of beer. You've got a lot of particulates in there. This is definitely some serious yeast. I mean, again, we talked about it before, but we're not sure because, again, this is a blind test. But it looks like it's a bottle-conditioned beer. Whether it is or isn't, it's another story. But if it's not, then something interesting going on with this beer.
If it's not bottle conditioned, we got a big problem.
We do, but it's tasty still, so it's okay. But yeah, no, it's just, I mean, it's an interesting beer. It's definitely consistent though, because they're not Rick, settling a whole lot.
Get it closer to this beer.
Not dropping,
So if you're looking at that, it's a very cloudy beer, and the particulates are held in suspension almost. They're not actually falling at all. So,
Ryan, based on your experience so far, what kind of rating are you giving?
I think I'm right about at a 7. We do have some concerns about the chunkiness to it.
Well, and if they're
it.
saying it's intensely dry hopped, I mean, for me, I have seasonal allergies, but I'm not picking up the kind of aromas that I would expect out of something that's bragging about the dry hopping.
I guess as far as the aroma, I'm getting something that I guess maybe it's just me, but the aroma, if I really bury my nose in it, the only thing that I can really relate it to it is kind of the smell of canned pumpkin if you're making like a pumpkin pie, and there's no pumpkin flavor or pumpkin aroma really.
And I'll tell you, this is not a pumpkin beer.
I know, and I can tell it's not a pumpkin beer, but I guess that's the closest thing that I can relate it to. If I really bury my nose in it, that's just what I get. I'm not getting a whole lot of what I would expect to get from a beer that is, that's, as you said in the brewery description, is intensely dry hopped. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's some hop aromas there, but it's not. There's other beers that you can smell, and they just knock you off your seat, and you know that it's going to be, massively hopped just based on the aroma alone.
Right.
And I'm just not picking that up in the beer. The bitterness is there in the flavor, but I'm not getting the intensity out of the aroma that I would expect from a beer that's touting the dry hopping.
Okay, Joby, what would you give this beer?
I'm on par with Ryan, man. It's a 7 for me. I think one of the first comments I had when we came down and started looking at this beer is I didn't think the aroma tasted or matched the taste. At first, like I said earlier, when the beer was higher, it did have a piney aroma for me, and I was thinking, this is going to be a real hop evasive beer, but it's kind of a mellow tasting beer, easy drinking, which is good. So I don't know. I think the nose and the taste, for me at least, don't match. So that's why I can see, it could be dry hopped to try to get that aroma flavor or aroma profile up there, but then the taste of the beer is a little more mellow. So I think it's a good drinking, easy drinking, solid beer.
Scott, what's your feelings about this beer? What's your ratings?
Feelings. It's a good beer. I'd give it a 7. I think that they failed in dry hopping this if they think that there's something that's really going to come across in that, because it's definitely falling short with dry hopping, but the flavor I think is good. But again, I'm not so sure that we have a 100% on-target beer here. I think maybe it's either been heated up a little bit or something, but even so, it's a great beer.
I mean, before I reveal it, here's my thoughts. I mean, if they're talking about intensely dry hopped, I'm not getting the aroma. We're getting like massive chunks here. I'm worried that this beer has been mishandled, which is weird because we brought it straight from the brewery.
I feel like it's Cascade hops all
This
the way.
is Crooked Tree IPA. The Ahlstrom brothers on Beer Advocate give it a 100. So they're saying it's world class.
I've had Crooked Tree before, and it does not. Yeah, this isn't what I would have guessed.
I mean, I don't know, if this is how Crooked Tree is. For me, it's a good tasting beer. I'd give it a 7. It's good tasting, and I would drink it all day, but I'm not even sure we have the freshest batch.
Yeah. I mean, even saying that, like you said, it might be a little skunky or mishandled, but it's still
pretty good.
It's still pretty tasty.
You have a lot of beer experience. Does this change anything for you?
I mean, looking at the bottle here, and it probably won't pick up on camera, but if you hold it up to the light, you can see there's almost a 1/4 inch of sediment, and it's not the compacted sediment that you'll have in some beers where all of the yeast and everything has kind of settled down to where you can pour it without any of that coming loose. This is a little bit looser sediment, and it's maybe more than I would expect.
Here's one thing that he didn't mention out loud, but kind of explains it a little bit. It's unfiltered.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, even an unfiltered beer, I mean,
you wouldn't expect particulates like this.
Yeah.
No, I've never seen it like this.
I mean, because the majority of homebrewed beers are unfiltered as well, and
Sure.
if you're drawing the beer off of the settled yeast cake, you can pull beer that's relatively clear.
All Bell's beers are
unfiltered as well,
and none of them have the particulates like that.
None of them have chunks.
So I mean, it's a little bit more sediment than I would expect, and it's a fairly loose sediment, which could be just inherent in the bottle itself, or if it happened to be jostled a little bit, that could have shaken it up a little bit. But
I'd say from reading the side of the box that they meant for this, because if you read the bottle itself, it says, "Hey kids, Rick Floaty here, longtime roadie for Yeasty Steve and Rollin' and the Rollin' Floaties. Got a new gig here with Dark Horse Brewing Company, chilling at the bottom of the beer. If you're swilling, if you're wondering who's whipping around the bottle, it's just me and the rest of the band." Kind of goes on, but basically they're touting that they have a lot of sediment.
Making that part of the marketing.
Yeah, they're touting it. I mean, this is the...
I would love to know more about it if they are promoting it there on the packaging.
All in all, it's still a great beer. I mean, I've had this before, and I remember, we had this at one of our poker games, and this was a
we've
great
had it
beer.
before.
We were loving it, and I think we could find it here at our local grocery store.
Don't get me wrong. I would drink the hell out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of, why don't you pop that open and fill her up?
Oh, let Phil Brother first. It's empty.
All right. Well, today, Crooked Tree IPA from the Dark Horse Brewery gets a 7.0 on the BBA scale. Wiggs, if you think we got it wrong, send us some new fresh beer and we'll re-review it. But that's it for today. Let us know what you think of your favorite IPA in the comment section. Also, do you mind the floaties? Does it even matter? I'm James Knott. This is your Better Beer Authority. Better Beer Authority!
Better Beer Authority! Better Beer Authority!